frame drum has been used in ceremonies from the very, very ancient past, and it will be used in the future. One of the reasons why the drum has been used throughout history, across almost every continent, in different types of ceremonies and rituals and rites of passage, is that there is a primal remembrance of our time in mother's womb, gestating to heartbeat rhythm and to blood flow. So it's been a deep study and practice of mine to look into what is the origin story of the frame drum and why was it used in ceremonies and rituals, and how might that apply to modern peoples everywhere. The frame drum, this simple shape, wood shell with skin, found all over the world for thousands and thousands of years. Some of you might be more familiar with shamanic drumming, with the beater and the crossbar on the back. The drum is really considered a tool and a technology for transforming consciousness. Some consider drum as our first technology for transforming consciousness. It's one of the keys to why drumming has been utilized so greatly in ceremony. These ceremonies, rites of passage, the drums were used in the birthing temples of Hathor and Isis in Egypt. And there is a deity in Egyptian mythology called Bes, and he is the protector of women in childbirth and labor. And it is often that in the ancient days, that time of birthing would actually be also a ceremonial initiation for women, sometimes accompanied by drumming. And these rituals of the dying rites, it is said that in Egypt there was continuous frame drumming for 40 days during the embalming process. So if you can imagine, in the Egyptian temple complexes, the embalmers, they're working with the herbs and the resins and all of those natural substances that have proven to create incredible preservation in the mummification. So they're there with the herbs, working on helping that soul move to the afterlife, accompanied by the sound of drumming. And the drum used in these rituals of helping someone to transition, to make the transition on the thread and the rhythm of the drum. So many different types of rites and many different cultural protocols that are around drumming and ceremony. So in a sense, we can look to these different cultures, but oftentimes how the drum is used will have different meanings and have different enactments. So there's no one way that the drum was used, but we know there's this really rich ancient history. What is lesser known in some circles, but is becoming more widespread, is this awareness that in the ancient days, the drummers were often women. And part of how I came to learn this information was from my primary teacher, the late Lane Redmond, who wrote a book on the subject called When the Drummers Were Women. And in that book, it really tells the spiritual history of the drum and rhythm, and it showcases this archive of imagery, art, and so we see visually this archaeological record and this artistic record of people with frame drums. And then we dig a little deeper. What is the context? Why were they drumming? What was the purpose? Many believe, and it can be somewhat of a hypothesis because there is limited written record, because we're talking about an oral tradition that was often mouth to ear, drum to ear, and passed on through the generations. But there is written record in Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, about the myths of Inanna and Dumuzi and how the drum played a significant part in the ritual. Also in the myths of Demeter, Persephone. In one of the tellings of the myth, when Persephone has been brought underground into the underworld and her bereft mother is searching everywhere for her, and metaphorically and literally, the grounds are going fallow, nothing's growing anymore. There have been many requests for me to drum in different experiences. While I won't go into the details of these ceremonies, there have been opportunities to drum for people that have been recently deceased. That moment of being with someone as their soul is making the transition. Some believe that one of the last senses is the sense of sound, and some say it's the sense of smell. Drumming for initiations, elder rites of passage. Drumming for people who are in hospice and are working through different illnesses. The drum can create a sonic support system for people. And so we can have also our private ceremonies. I think so many of us can use this kind of tool and instrument these days in our life. And for you that are interested out there, if you have a drum or you procure a drum to even play out a very simple rhythm on a full moon or a new moon as a remembrance that we are in these great cycles of nature, can help us to regulate and re-regulate our nervous system. There's something about that repetition, and drumming being one of our main instruments of that rhythmic repetition, that can be very soothing for some people, for their mind, for their heart, for their nervous system. So it's one of the ways that we are bringing this ancient technology and ancient wisdom through to the present moment in the hopes that we might heal the future, perhaps our personal future, the collective future. It's one tool, of course, of many, many tools that many of us are seeking out for healing, for that healing modality. The sound of music and the vibrational qualities that music can bring to us. So these are just some ideas about how the drum was used in the ancient days. There are many, many different stories. There are also the ecstatic rituals that involve dancing, some types of sacrament, perhaps, in the temple complexes. There are stories of the drum being used to receive deeper insight, creativity, oracular insight. When the drumming is happening, it often shifts the brainwave frequencies, formation of consciousness. So the drum is a tool in that meditative ceremony. Of course, the drum also can be used for celebrations and for revelry. So some ideas about drumming in the ancient past, drumming in this present moment, and the drum as a tool for transforming consciousness and as a technology for healing in the future. Thanks for tuning in. Hi out there. Great to see some of your names and to connect with you all in this cyber realm. Until next time.